If you're a serious hunter and you haven't tried Hex yet, this is the edge you're missing. Hunters have always talked about animals having a sixth sense, feeling you before they ever see you. Hex works by completely blocking your body's natural energy, helping you get closer without tipping them off. Most hunters don't believe it at first, until they hunt in it. And once they do, it makes them believers fast. Go to hexhunting.com. That's HECS hunting.com. And use code WAYPOINT to save $20 on a full Hex system.
Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With FishingBooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. FishingBooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to FishingBooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.
Welcome to DSC's Campfires with Larry Weishuhn, a unique blend of hunting, fishing, wildlife conservation, and the outdoor lifestyle. DSC's Campfires is brought to you by DSC, Conservation, Education, and Advocacy. Hornady, accurate, deadly, dependable. Taurus, award-winning revolvers and pistols. Stealth Vision, high-tech, precision-driven equipment for today's modern hunter. Red 55 Winery, signature wines from Emmy Award-winning country artist Miranda Lambert, owned by Rick and Beverly Lambert. And the Choctaw Hunting Lodge, home of some of the finest hunting in North America. Now, here's Larry.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Campfire. We're coming to you today from a place called Becker Bottoms, which happens to be a really fabulous place owned by the Cotton family, dear friends of the gentleman I'm sitting here with, Mr. Rick Lambert. Rick, you recently did some quail hunting. Tell me about that quail hunt that you were on.
Well, last year I got invited to the Grand National Quail Hunt in Enid, Oklahoma. And it's been going on since the 40s.
Really?
And a friend of mine, Mike from down in South Texas, he called me and said, I'd like for you to be on this quail hunt. He said, I'm part of it and I'd like for you to go on this thing. I said, what is it? And he said, it's kind of like a big fraternity, but it's mature men and it's people you really like. And he said, there's 2 days of hunting and 4 days of partying. And he said, it's just a great camaraderie thing. And so I went last year as a first-time shooter.
Right.
And then you're invited back every year. I've joined for life. At my age, I don't know how long it's going to be, but,
a lot of years.
I hope I get my money's worth.
A lot of years.
Anyway, it is a fine bunch of people, and their focus is the preservation of habitat for quail and other birds. And they got some fine dogs that they work, and they take care of everything. The guides are real experienced. They know all the landowners around there. And you get to hunt some fabulous places, just natural habitat and some cornfields and places like that. But the quail, it's not all wild quail,
right?
Of course,
for the numbers, right?
But you have a certain number of quail that you can kill as a shooter, and it's a competition. And I got lucky this year, and we have a trap shoot as well. And this year there were 15 four-man teams, and I happened to be, this is not saying I contributed much, but I happened to be on the four-man team that won the trap shoot and the quail shoot. So we killed the most quail and did the best on the trap shoot. It's a lot of fun. They have an auction where they raise a lot of money, got everything from real neat little bird dog puppies to fine shotguns, all that. It's a wonderful organization. I'm so proud to be part of it.
And I'm proud for you. I've heard about this one for a long time, and I remember reading about it in Outdoor Life and Field and Stream many, many years ago. And as I recall, Dave Duffy was one of the editors on the bird dog thing.
Yes.
And every year he would go and he would write about it, and then there were a few other writers from many years ago that did the same. So I've been familiar with it, and it is an absolutely great organization from, as you just hear just mentioned again. So, what shotgun did you use when you were there?
I use I'm a sub gauge. I like sub gauge guns. I use my 28. I got a little over and under. It's Yieldies, and they're sold strictly by Academy, and they're fine little shotguns for not a lot of money, and that's my over and under. But my favorite gun. I love side by sides. I'm a traditionalist when it comes to bird hunting. You'll never see me out there chasing quail with an automatic or a pump. I'm a double barrel guy. I used to have a little funky tweed hat that I wore quail hunting, but I think the rats ate it up.
Sounds to me like you need to get another one.
Yeah, but I just love the tradition of, quail hunting is like fly fishing. It's a gentleman's sport. It really is. And they call the Bob White Gentleman Bob, and I've read through the years Havilah Babcock and Nash Buckingham and all the old writers about it, and I read them over and over, because it never gets old when you're talking about wild quail hunting particularly. But the farmed birds that they use up there are very well flight trained, and you don't have to kick them out of the grass.
Right.
I don't like that kind of hunting.
No.
But the dog work is fabulous, and these guys are all volunteers. But you're hunting with and communicating with, and the camaraderie. These are a lot of retired colonels and generals from the military. There are a lot of retired pilots. Law enforcement that I fell in with because of my 34 years in that.
Right.
Just a bunch of really neat people, interesting guys that come to this thing. And they have quite a few celebrities. Roy Rogers has been there. I could sit here and name numerous people that have been there. A lot of politicians, governors, people like that. It's just a really neat group of men. And the women volunteered. They're kind of left out in the cold, because 2 nights it's a stag party, And but the women are just top quality, fabulous people. I'm excited about going every year, and I've made such good friends now. I've got more invitations to go on hunts, everything from elk to sandhill cranes, than I can keep up with. So It's a great organization. If you're lucky enough to get asked to be in there, it's kind of like the Shriners Lodge. Yeah. You got to be asked by somebody that's a member to
or the one-shot antelope hunt, which is somewhat similar to what you're talking about as well too.
The same guys that did the one-shot antelope hunt, which I'm going to be participating in this year. I missed it last year for some unknown reason, but they've asked me to come because I met the guys involved in that.
Right.
But the same guys that did the one-shot antelope hunt came up with this idea about the quail thing, because you know how quail populations are up and down horribly. I mean horribly.
Down most places,
yeah. Well,
particularly wild birds.
I was raised in East Texas, and we used to go quail hunting and kill several quail, and if we got lucky, 4 or 5 woodcock and all that. And I guess I took it for granted, because I hadn't heard a quail whistle in East Texas in 25 years. And it hurts, because I love Gentleman Bob.
Well, it's amazing. I grew up in just off the Gulf Coast a little way, and my granddad, you could hunt anything you wanted to, but you didn't hunt quail, because his great joy was to sit out on the porch and whistle to those Bob Whites and have them respond. I mean, you could do anything. You didn't care what you shot, or whatever, or wanted to hunt, but you didn't mess with a quail. And the interesting thing is during those years, those are hard years in terms of drought.
Oh, yeah.
But we had a lot of quail.
Yeah.
We had a lot of quail. And now I'm like you, on our little place, I can't remember a quail past about the 1960s, early 1960s, that I heard a quail whistle there.
It makes me, I took some boys that worked for me. We were opening a bed and breakfast in Tishomingo, Oklahoma, that my daughter had. And I took our male employees out and to the ranch that she owned at the time.
Right.
That day, we saw a Boone and Crockett buck run across in front of us. Next, we rounded a corner, and there was a mountain lion that ran across the road in front of us and was standing over in the bushes. And those guys were going crazy. You know, some of them were city boys, didn't know anything.
Yes.
We were leaving out of there, and a flock of a covey, not a flock, you don't call them,
Right.
of quail, but the covey of quail with about 30 birds in it ran in front of the truck, and I acted like a 5-year-old in Toys R Us. And those guys said, "You're more excited about those birds than you were the..." I said, "That's me, man." I said, "That brings me such joy to see those birds." There's not one on the place now. I don't know. I've had so many conversations with biologists about where they went. You know, a lot of people say, well, it's a fire ants or it's the varmints. Well, the varmints have been around for years. The fire ants have been around for years. And I talked to a little female biologist one time. She said, "I've been cussed out, spit on, and everything else for this." But she said, "When I get up before a group of landowners that want to propagate quail, if they're cattle ranchers, I get in trouble because I tell them, you clear your fence lines completely out and sometimes poison the fence lines. That's where quail and rabbits live."
Amen.
And that's the habitat. You cannot destroy the habitat of anything.
No.
And a little quail can't run through Bermuda grass.
No.
You know, so she said, "I've gotten in trouble a bunch of times for it." I said, "Well, you're telling the truth. Most of the time when you tell the truth, you're going to get in trouble, you know."
And to me, it's really, I've dealt with a lot of different quail country over the years where we tried our best to produce native quail, and we're able to do so. But it's a combination of several different things. And
they get diseases so easily.
Absolutely. There's a problem with the eyeworm in a lot of different areas, particularly out in the western part of the state of Texas. But I think they finally come up with something now that they can put as a block or something like that incorporates some vaccine or some chemical that does away with those things. So
you'd think with all the Texas Aggies that live in our world, somebody would figure it out.
And particularly those who like to hunt quail. I want to go back to, you mentioned growing up in East Texas, and we're talking about shotguns. What was your first shotgun?
My first shotgun was a little 410. I think that's a mistake a lot of people make.
Right.
They buy their kid a 410. I got it when I was 8 years old.
Yep.
And I couldn't hit anything with it. I'd kill squirrels and stuff, but my dad would take me dove hunting, and I got so frustrated. So when I turned 10, he traded that single-shot 410 in for a Savage single-shot 20-gauge. And I remember it had a Yellow Rose of Texas embossed into the stock.
Oh, really?
I wish I still had that gun. But I started out shooting the adults with that 20 gauge.
Right.
It makes a big difference. 410s are for expert shots.
Yes, sir.
And so,
yes, sir.
My dad gave my son a 410 too, and I said, "Say thanks, Gramps, and use this 20 gauge." But my next gun after that was a bolt action Mossberg 16 gauge. My granddaddy never used anything but a 16 gauge in his life. He didn't think any other gauge, and he was my hero. So I had a bolt action 16 gauge, and my best friend was with me and saw me kill a double on doves with that bolt action 16 gauge.
Now that's working that action pretty darn quickly.
Yeah.
Good.
But now I've got a lot of guns. When I finally got old enough to have a job, I went and bought me I think it was a Model 59. It was a weird shotgun put out by Winchester. It had like a fiberglass barrel. Do you remember that gun?
I remember something, but I can't remember. I remember there's something way back in the back end of that brain back there that recalls some of that. I can't remember the specifics.
I went to a gun store in Longview and paid $92 for it.
$92.
And it was stolen in a burglary when I was living in Dallas as a cop.
On top of everything.
Never showed up. So anyway, I've had a lot of shotguns. I've got a lot of shotguns. And I was born with a shotgun in my hand. I was telling you earlier, I never had a rifle except a .22 rifle until I was 22 years old. We just didn't use them in East Texas,
Right.
you killed everything with rifle slugs and buckshot during deer season. So.
My first deer rifle for a long time was a single-shot Model 33 Remington, which was the first Remington bolt action ever made. And that was and the difference between it and my squirrel gun, and the squirrel gun, I got to shoot 22 sharks, and when I hunted deer, not that I ever got to kill one with that, but I'm shooting 22 longs or 22 long rifle. These days, most people don't even know what you're talking about when you start talking about sharks and long rifle, but... Yeah, that was for years. That was my granddad's gun, and for years that was my deer rifle as well too. Again, on the shotgun, what's in the future as far as you're concerned with shotguns? Now, have you got some more? You own several guns, obviously.
Yeah.
Is there a particular gun that you're enamored with at this point, Rick, that you're thinking about?
Any double barrel.
If I write another song and make money,
I'm not. I'm an old guy, and I'm old-fashioned, and I'm a traditionalist. And I love the, I got plenty of black guns and, everything, ARs and everything else. But I don't particularly like plastic furniture on guns. I just don't. I really don't. I love the wood and the steel. Yeah, I get scarred up. But that's the character of the gun.
It is.
Every gun I got's got scars on it. I'm not going to mollycoddle them. I've used them for paddles and used them for to push myself across a frozen pond when I broke my shoulder, and that puts the character in them.
It really does. I get tickled because I love wood. To me, really pretty wood. I showed you some rigger number
well
ones.
Aware of that. The guns you showed me.
And I just picked up not very long ago. But I tease people all the time about plastic socks or plywood, fancy plywood. The laminate. To me, I want solid wood that's got a lot of figure in it.
I love it, and I love blue. I don't care if it's worn. I don't care if it's worn.
Amen.
Completely off. It's just the traditionalist in me. Like I said, it took me forever to get used to. I carried a revolver for years as a law enforcement officer.
Right.
It took me forever. When I bought my first Glock, it was like you had to pull me in there with a team of horses. And what happened is, I went to a combat school.
Right.
With a one-armed constable was beside me. And I was shooting a 45, 45 Colt, 8-shot,
right,
1911. And I would be reloading that 1911, and that one-armed constable beside me, he had his system down. He would put that gun up under his arm, and they kept his magazines on his right side, and he would jam that magazine in there, and in the pit of his arm would jack that slide back on a Glock 19, and he was shooting circles around me. So I said, there's got to be something to this Glock deal, because he had 3 times as many shells in his gun as I did.
He done it with one arm, in one hand.
I nearly backed into that store because I was going to buy a Glock.
Right.
Now I own 6 Glocks, and I use one to deer hunt with,
Right.
It just took me a while. And I'm still not in the synthetic fan. I've got some synthetic camo guns for duck hunting, but I'm still a subgun guy. Only thing I shoot with a 12-gauge gun anymore, and I have a bunch of them, is sandhill cranes and geese.
Right.
Even my turkey gun now is a 20-gauge, and I like sub gun. If you're a shot, if you call yourself a shot, you can kill anything with a sub gauge that you can with a 12 gauge.
You really can. Of course, these days our ammunition is a little bit different from what it was back when I was shooting a 410 as well too.
Absolutely.
I hunted turkeys with a 410 in a Encore or a Contender, and I figured out that I needed to have that by patterning the barrel. I figured out I needed to have that bird within 12 steps for me to be able to,
that's good.
to kill one.
That's where I like to shoot them. I like to shoot them in the lips, Larry.
and I was able to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, which But these days, even with, I would suspect, even with that 14-inch barrel, you could probably shoot one at 20, 25 yards, with the type of ammunition.
With the TSS ammunition that they got out.
Yes.
And Mossberg, bless Linda's heart, that they have got some really good 410 turkey guns now.
They do.
Really good.
They do. I've got one of their, Mossberg's is actually made somewhere else, a little over under 410.
Yes.
That I've shot all kinds of doves with, of course, with a different ammo compared to what I used to use, but I have not yet shot a turkey with it, and that may be the one thing that will bring me back around and want to go kill a turkey with you and Zumbo.
Like I say, my turkey gun is a turkey thug, but it's been modified a little bit. Mossberg modified it for me a little bit because I had a severely injured hand.
Yes.
And I could not get my thumb over the top of that 835 Mossberg that will kick you all the way into next week. And I called Linda and said, this is Linda Powell. I called her and said, Linda, I want to go turkey hunting, but I'm injured and I'm hurt and I can't put my thumb over stock. She said, I'll fix you up. And she sent it to me. And that's all I use now. And I've killed several birds at 40 yards. I do not like to shoot at a turkey at 40 yards.
Yeah.
I like to shoot them in the lips.
Yeah.
The closer I can get them, the more.
Always better. Oh, that was my deal years ago. Years ago when we first started having spring turkey hunts in Texas, which goes back about the middle 70s or something like that. I was shooting a rifle because you could shoot them with a rifle.
Yeah,
but
sure. First one I ever killed was with a 22 Magnum.
The first spring turkey I ever killed, I shot with a 22 Magnum. But I also shot them with a 270 and a bunch of others. And people go, "Wait, you shooting them out there to 200 yards, 100 yards?" I said, No. My deal is they have to be 20 yards or less. I got to call them in. What difference does it make if I'm there by myself and shooting a rifle or shooting a shotgun? I said, years ago, the reason they started shooting shotguns because there were no Indians that were going to attack them when they started a turkey call kind of thing. So you mentioned some vintage guns. Now, you love the Model 99 Savage. We talked about that a little bit earlier in the short little video thing that we did. Let's talk about that a little bit. You love those lever actions, obviously.
I like lever action guns, and I've really gotten interested in them lately, more particularly because Ruger bought out Marlin, and they really have improved them. The only trouble is they raised the prices quattro, but their guns are fabulous. I've got a 4570 and 1895, and I've got the new 336 3030. One thing I don't like is the cross safety, but that's a lawyer deal.
Yeah, that's a lawyer deal these days.
But man, they're fine made guns, and I show them out every time. But I've got some Winchesters but my Savage 99, I've got a BLR Browning lever rifle. It's a fabulous little gun in 308. But I've got two Savage 99s, one made in 1977, and it's a 300 Savage, which is the first caliber they made it in. It was supposed to be the big thing over even the 30-30.
Oh, yeah.
And so I wanted to make sure that my first one I got was 300. Now I have a 308 that's made in 1959 with a Lyman scope on it that was probably made in 1974, and I'm keeping it on it. Vintage for vintage is the way I feel.
Amen.
I was enamored by Savage 99s at the age of 8 years old. A guy brought a herder's catalog over and gave it to me. My next door neighbor, he was kind of a surrogate dad to me while my dad was going through a lot of sickness. And he'd take me hunting, and he saved all his sports field and streams and outdoor lives for me. And he brought that herder's catalog over, and it had an ad for Savage 99s. And you know how Jacques Herder always expounded on everything they did in the herder's catalog? And he told stories of the hunters in the Adirondack shooting these Savage 99s, and I just pictured myself as an 8-year-old sitting on a stump at the intersection of two logging roads.
Yes, sir.
With a black and red plaid jacket on.
Yes, sir.
And my Savage 99 across my knees. That's the image that I perfected that image at 8 years old. And I was 50-something years old before I got my first 99.
And I bet that image is still there, too.
It's still there. It's on my bucket list. My bucket list is getting way too short and way too expensive, but I want to go to Upper New York and hunt in a traditional deer camp up there with my Savage 9.
I think it is a admirable decision to do. I also I've got at least one. I've just bought another one, and I'm buying another one as well too. But the one that I have, it also is it was built in 1929.
Whoa!
Or somewhere along and through there. It was when 300 Savage was first really introduced way back when. And somewhere along and through there, maybe I'm telling the story, but I remember 1929. Maybe it's the other gun that I'm buying right now that's that way. But I've got it. It belonged to my dad, who gave it to my brother. It was a gun I used to take the first mule deer that I shot out in West Texas back in 1970.
What caliber is it?
300 Savage.
300 Savage.
And it had a Weaver K4 scope on it. And guess what? It
still
has that Weaver K4 scope on it.
I can't let go of an old scope, man. I mean, it's doing its job.
No.
When I shot that rifle in, it was pie plate accurate at 100 yards. And you're not going to get minute of angle out of a... That's not what they were made for.
No.
But it's you're going to kill a deer at 100, 150 yards with it. And I wouldn't take longer shots with it. I mean, that 300 Savage was not made for, the long shot. Now, the 308's a whole different deal.
It is a different deal, yes, sir. It is a different deal.
It's a deer gun. I mean, that's what it is. You're not going out shooting prairie dogs with it,
But you're right. The accuracy, when you get right down to it, on a whitetail deer, as long as you know the limitations of that firearm, you're talking about an 8-inch circle, essentially.
Yes.
The heart and lung area on almost any whitetail deer is going to be a little bit bigger than that. Yep. And if you can keep that shot somewhere in that, you'll kill that deer.
Absolutely.
But you also have to know the limitations and know a little bit about distance, and don't try to stretch things. But
I've seen you do wondrous things, even with handguns at 500 yards. I've never had the occasion or the location where I could shoot that far. But I know I'm good out to. I brain shot a hog at 425 with a 7 mag one time. That's my longest shot that I ever made. But I'm not prone to make long shots because I hate wounding game.
I do too.
Like you said, knowing the limitation of you first and your firearm second.
Right.
Most firearms have more character than we do as shooters.
Yes.
I mean, especially nowadays.
And most of them are more accurate than we are.
Yeah, I've just not become a student or I've not become proficient at, like I said, I've seen you make some incredible shots. But I know, too, that you don't shoot at game.
No. To me, we're here on
something that rings,
That's different.
Yeah.
That's totally different. To me, the reason you shoot those long ranges is so that you become familiar with the firearm, so that when you slip within 100 yards or less of that animal, that you can precisely place
your eyes and do it.
Yeah, and you're still going to do it, kind of thing. Although it is fun, and shooting at targets at 500 yards with the handguns, like the Taurus handguns I'm shooting right now. We're here on the Cotton Ranch, and we just happen to have a 500-yard target with about a 14, I think it's an 18-inch steel circle out there. So we're going to hit out there here just a little bit.
Well, I saw your, there's a wooden plaque outside on this thing, the 500-yard club, and the only name on it is Larry Weishuhn.
Well, I finally got Mr. Edgar Mr. Edgar Cotton. He ended up with a TC Encore, and we mounted a scope on it and did all. I sighted it in for him, and I asked him, I said, Mr. Edgar, you mind if I try it at the 500-yard target? And I kind of knew what the drop ought to be, and I hit it twice with it, and I handed it to him, and guess what? First shot he shot, he hit it.
Wow, that's great.
I got so tickled. He and his son David were here, and as soon as he hit he said, I hit it. And he jumped up and he was doing a dance. And David
86 years old, isn't he? Doing a dance.
And David goes,
walks with a cane, but he's doing a dance.
David said, I've never seen my dad do that. But, so I think that's something we're going to go try to do here in just a little bit. I know you've got some guns, and I've got some I need to sight in. I've got a couple of new Ruger number ones that I brought in that we need to put a bullet through, and I've got my 300 Savage with me as well, too, that I need to shoot. So What's next for you? And then I want to come back here in about a month or two and pick your brain a little bit more about some other stuff that you've been involved in and getting ready to do.
I had a conversation with you last night. My daughter suggested, she went to Scotland. She's not a hunter anymore. She was, but she told me, she said, Dad, you need to go to Scotland and go hunting. She said, it's so big over there. So you and I talked about last night either Scotland or Sweden for bird hunting. Like I said, my bucket list is getting so short and expensive that hairy animals are just about out of my reach. But I've been to Africa, and I've been to New Zealand, I've been to Mexico, and been to Canada, killed a big wolf in Canada.
Yeah, so you did.
I'm about ready to retire to feathers. I promised myself at 75, I'm going to start shooting feathers because I love shotgunning. So
Sweden is particularly, and I'm plugged Scandinavian pro hunters here because I've hunted with Stefan and Sophia numerous times. The bird hunting there, particularly for waterfowl, our pheasants, there are no bag limits, and there are no lack of birds to where they'll do shoots and I was there a few years ago and we only killed 1,200 in a day, and they were apologizing because it was raining and it was doing all kinds of other stuff. I said, no, we should have shot many more than that. So, and the beauty of it is every one of those animals gets used. I mean, they go to market or they've already got places that they're going to.
So they can still market hunt in
yes, but it's
Sweden.
After the fact. It's not going out specifically, to hunt for to sell the meat kind of thing. But there's that, and then Scotland's got some fantastic bird hunting as well too, and I still like some of the things they have, antlers and horns and hair and all that. But I can,
like you hadn't killed enough of those.
Well, I haven't. But to me, you can combine those hunts with driven hunts and do it upright with the tweed, like you're talking about, wearing the tweed.
I'd love to do that.
And side by sides and all that. So we'll see if we can't get that trip laid out. But I want to come back with you here before too very long. You've got several hunts coming up. We're talking about bird hunts, and I'm not much on shotgun shooting. I love watching bird dogs work, and I love people who are good with their shotguns. I don't know that you are one of those people, but I want to come back with you here. You've got some hunts coming up you were talking about for birds, and we'll visit about those when you and I get together next time.
Okay, great.
Rick Lambert, thank you so much for being with us around the campfire. Ladies and gentlemen, we look forward to seeing you right back here next week, and no telling who'll be sitting across the campfire from me.
DSC's Campfires with Larry Weishuhn has also been brought to you by The Crown Bar in LaGrange, Texas, the Texas Wildlife Association, Double Nickel Taxidermy, and Burnham Brothers Game Calls.